Security cameras and police body cams sometimes capture incredibly strange moments, like the moment officers have no choice but to use force to arrest a suspect.
I'm not playing with you, man.
Get on the ground!
Oh, yes, sir.
Get on the ground!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm on the ground, yes, sir.
Or when, on the other hand, a suspect suddenly snaps and turns violent.
So what's going on?
I just had an argument. It's nothing serious, I'm sorry. You're a f***ing bald ass, f***ing fat, white ass. Go! Hey, you!
To kick me?
I'm not married.
No one wants to.
But it's far rarer for an entire crime, from the very beginning, to unfold right in front of surveillance cameras. The case of Grace Millane is one of those rare exceptions. To fully understand what happened, for the first time we're heading to New Zealand to examine one of its most infamous criminal cases. Grace was born on December 2nd, 1996. In 2018, she graduated from university, and before starting her career, she decided to spend at least a year traveling the world with nothing but her backpack. Her adventure began on October 26th in South America. From there, she traveled to Peru, then a few weeks later to Iceland. And finally, on November 30th, just 2 or 3 days before her 22nd birthday, she arrived in New Zealand and checked into a hostel. 2 days later, on December 2nd, her family and friends sent her birthday messages, but none of them received a reply. 3 days passed. Her parents became increasingly worried because she wasn't answering their calls or text messages, and she hadn't updated her Facebook or Instagram either. Grace carried 2 mobile phones, so that if one ever stopped working for any reason, she could still be reached on the other. But for those few days, every call to both phones went straight to voicemail without even ringing. Her family contacted Auckland police and reported that they had completely lost contact with their daughter. The last thing they knew was that she had been traveling with a group in Peru before separating from them and continuing alone to New Zealand. News of the young woman's disappearance quickly spread across the media.
We begin tonight with a public appeal for missing British backpacker Grace Millane. A short time ago, police held a press conference to appeal for sightings of the 22-year-old who has not been seen since 7:15 p.m. on Saturday night.
Her father immediately flew to Auckland and appeared on television, asking the public for any information that could help find his daughter.
I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to anybody who has seen, spoken to, or come into contact with Grace over the last few days, and to come forward with any detail, no matter how small, and contact the investigation team. Once again, I thank you all for coming.
But this is where the story really begins. A few days later, the lead detective on the case gave a television interview. He explained, to track Grace's movements, we began reviewing surveillance footage from across the city to determine exactly where she disappeared.
Police investigation today has concentrated around her movements and activities in Auckland since she's arrived in New Zealand. A large part of that focus has been around CCTV footage throughout Auckland.
The footage you're about to see pieces together. Everything Grace did on December 1st. At 5:37 p.m., she left her hostel and walked toward the casino marked on the map. She waited there for a few minutes. It appeared she had arranged to meet the young man wearing the blue shirt, a man she had matched with on Tinder just a couple of days earlier. The two of them walked around the area for a while before heading into a bar for a few drinks. They talked for about half an hour, then decided to continue the evening at a Mexican cafe. Once again, they ordered drinks, chatted for a while, and then moved on to another location. This time, they went to a bar called Bluestone Room. As the surveillance footage shows, their relationship became noticeably more intimate there. The moment the young man went to the restroom, Grace took her phone out of her bag and sent a message to one of her friends, telling her how well the date was going. That was the last message ever sent from Grace's phone. Keep in mind, we're still talking about December 1st, the day before Grace's birthday. The young man returned to the table and the evening continued. Then, at exactly 9:40 p.m., the two of them left the building hand in hand and began walking toward the hotel where the man had already reserved a room. They stepped into the elevator and rode up to the 3rd floor. This was the last time Grace Millane was ever seen alive. On December 5th, several police officers arrived at the hotel to speak with Jesse Kempson, the man we had seen earlier in the surveillance footage. The moment Jesse noticed the officers, he acted suspiciously. He immediately changed direction and walked away from the hotel. But before we continue, let's take a closer look at who this young man really was. Jesse Kempson was born in 1992. His parents divorced when he was 9 years old. During his teenage years, he worked as a bartender and a laborer. Later, he moved to Australia. 3 years later, he returned to his hometown in New Zealand. After that, it's unclear exactly what he did for a living. However, reports show that on the very same day he went on the date with Grace, he had been fired from his job. Eventually, on December 5th, police located him a short distance from the hotel. To gather more information about the missing woman, they brought him in for questioning.
Tell us about Grace.
So I was talking to Grace on Tinder. We'd matched on Friday. I saw that we'd matched the next day on the Saturday.
From the lead detective's perspective, the moment Jesse paused to take a drink of water in the middle of answering questions was a clear sign of stress. At the same time, it gave investigators a valuable opportunity to observe his behavior more closely, the trembling in his hands, the movement of his legs. Meanwhile, Jesse had already prepared himself for the interview, but he had no idea what the first question would be. So after answering a few questions, he deliberately paused, using small gestures like this to buy himself time, giving himself a chance to think before continuing.
How did the evening pan out?
Yeah, pretty good. I didn't initially know that she was real.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of... So have you heard of catfish?
No.
So catfishing is where someone uses your profile, or uses your photos and pretends to be you and then meets, and you're a completely different person.
Right.
And it's happened to a few people I know in Australia. And it's all over the TV. So I thought, you know, if I meet at Sky City, at least I know that there's lots of people around. So if it is someone that it's not, then I can just walk away.
The suspect's apparent goal was to steer the conversation away from the main issue. He was trying to overwhelm the detective with irrelevant and unnecessary details, hoping they would move on from the important questions. At the same time, he tried to make it sound as if he hadn't even been very eager to go on the date in the first place, because he wasn't sure Grace was a real person. But to the detective, this kind of deflection was a major red flag. It suggested that Jesse had a habit of distorting the truth.
How did the evening sort of come to an end?
There was a hug and a kiss on the cheek, and a thanks, nice meeting you. And then I said, let me know about tomorrow. And she said, okay, and then she kept walking.
At that point, the detective realized Jesse wasn't taking the interview seriously, so he decided to increase the pressure by making a few carefully chosen remarks, then leaving him alone with his thoughts. Don't forget, Jesse had no idea what evidence the police actually had against him.
We actually don't know if she's been murdered or not yet. She may be alive and well.
Okay.
But she might also be dead.
Okay.
Okay? And it could be that you've done it.
Hey, I just want to ask a question. Have I been arrested for something I didn't do?
You haven't been arrested, mate.
Oh.
No.
I was like, holy shit. Okay.
Investigators still believed he was somehow involved in Grace's disappearance because surveillance footage showed that Grace had entered the hotel, but she was never seen leaving. Now let's continue reviewing the security footage. On December 2nd, the day after meeting Grace, Jesse was seen leaving the hotel alone. He walked into a department store and bought a large suitcase. Then he purchased several different cleaning products. After finishing his shopping, he returned to the hotel, left the items in his room, and came back downstairs. This time, he took a taxi to a rental agency, where he rented a car. At around 4 o'clock that afternoon, he went on another Tinder date with a different woman. Afterward, he returned to the hotel and borrowed a carpet cleaning machine, one that's typically used to remove deep stains. Then, he took it back to his room. A few minutes later, he appeared in the elevator again, this time carrying 2 suitcases. He headed down to the parking garage and loaded them into the trunk of the rental car he had picked up just hours earlier. Additional surveillance footage showed that on December 3rd, shortly before 7 o'clock in the morning, Jesse visited another store and bought a shovel before returning to the hotel. A few minutes later, he came back downstairs carrying a garbage bag. From there, he stopped at a laundromat to wash his clothes, and then visited a car wash. The next time surveillance cameras captured Jesse was on December 5th, when he appeared to be emptying the contents of one of his bags into a trash bin. After the first interview, police searched the suspect's hotel room as part of their investigation. Inside, they discovered new evidence, including traces of blood on the carpet. As a result, a second interrogation was held 2 days later. But this time, Jesse had a very different story to tell.
You've indicated that you're willing to speak to us about the events of last Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me what happened last Saturday.
From the beginning?
Now that Jesse realized the police had tracked nearly every move he had made over the past few days through surveillance footage, and had also found evidence inside the hotel room, he shifted into a defensive position. One side note that's worth mentioning is that, at the request of Jesse's attorney, large portions of the interrogation footage were either removed or censored before the court reached its final verdict.
Started talking to me about 50 Shades of Grey, which is a sex fantasy movie that's out.
This film was released in 2015. The story revolves around an unusual relationship filled with sexually explicit scenes involving sadomasochistic themes. It begins when Anna, a literature student, meets a young man named Christian. Christian becomes fascinated by uncovering the secrets of this shy young woman. At the same time, Anna is equally drawn to him. As their unconventional sexual relationship develops, Anna begins discovering her own desires and boundaries, while Christian is forced to confront the darkness within himself. By bringing up this movie, Jesse was trying to make it appear that whatever happened between him and Grace, and however it ended, had been entirely consensual. He wanted the police to believe he wasn't responsible.
We started having sex. At first it was just normal. It was very placid. And then she asked me if we could get into bondage. And then all I remember is falling asleep in the shower.
Jesse went on to say that after falling asleep for a while, he woke up and walked into the bedroom, where he found Grace's body. According to him, she had already lost a large amount of blood, and there was nothing that could be done to save her.
I need to stop. I need to go.
Would you like some fresh air?
Yeah, please. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I went downstairs and I was just, I don't know, I was all over the place. I didn't believe what had happened. I was just terrified and scared. I thought that she had gone. I thought she had left.
Pathologist, specialist doctor will perform a post-mortem. They're very skilled at establishing people's causes of death. Do you understand that? Did you kill Grace Millane? You're under arrest for the murder of Grace Millane on or about the 2nd of December. You understand?
While Jesse Kempson sat in custody awaiting his first court appearance, investigators continued building their case. They uncovered several critical pieces of evidence. The first thing they examined was the suspect's phone records, along with every text message, every phone call, and everything he had searched on Google between December 1st and December 8th. The investigation into his search history and the GPS data from his mobile phone eventually led detectives to a remote location. There, they discovered Grace Millane's body, buried inside a suitcase beside a rural road. The forensic examination determined that Grace had been dead for 6 days. Investigators also found bruises on her shoulders and arms, indicating that she had been restrained with force. Based on everything we've seen so far, it's possible to piece together what most likely happened. The suspect killed Grace. He waited until morning. Then he went out and bought a suitcase along with cleaning supplies. He placed her body inside the suitcase. He cleaned the hotel room. Then, unbelievably, he went on another Tinder date. But his mind was still consumed by the crime he had just committed. During that date, he actually discussed the best places to bury a body with the woman he was meeting. The woman became frightened and chose not to continue the conversation. Jesse then returned to the hotel, loaded the suitcases into his rental car, drove outside the city, and buried Grace's body. Afterward, he washed the rental car in an attempt to erase any evidence of the crime. But everywhere he went, he left behind a digital trail. At trial, the defendant pleaded not guilty. His attorney once again brought up 50 Shades of Grey. The defense argued that Grace's death had been a tragic accident during consensual sexual activity, a violent encounter that had resulted in accidental strangulation. Therefore, according to the defense, Jesse was not criminally responsible. What's interesting is that this wasn't the first time a defendant had tried to use the 50 Shades of Grey defense in court. The prosecution, however, argued that Kempson had deliberately strangled Grace. Then, after burying her body, he began searching the internet for ways to destroy human remains, trying to conceal the crime and eliminate the evidence.
You're so full of You have no reason to convict me. You're full of
At this point, the court called several women who had previously met the defendant through Tinder to testify. They told the jury that they had been sexually assaulted by Jesse. In the end, after considering the physical evidence, the surveillance footage, and the testimony of the witnesses, the court reached its verdict. In November 2019, Jesse Kempson was sentenced to life imprisonment, with the possibility of applying for parole after serving 17 years.
On behalf of New Zealand, I want to apologise to Grace's family. Your daughter should have been safe here, and she wasn't, and I'm sorry for that.